Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for another episode of The Chamber Within. Today, I want to talk about the luxury of peace. I call peace a luxury because those who have it or know how to get back to it whenever it is necessary carry it with them, or rather within them, knows that they are carrying it with them wherever they go. I believe I was in my late 20s or early 30s when I began to seek out peace. I used to exercise and off and on throughout my late 20s and 30s, and specifically around the time of me working, taking college classes, taking care of my father who had cancer at the time. So I was managing his doctor's appointments and shopping for him at the grocery store. Um, this particular time was a lot to manage physically and, more importantly, mentally and emotionally. For me, it was a lot to juggle. And I like to burn off my stress with exercise, so I began to do yoga at the time because it was a different sort of pace, right? It's a slower way, it's a slower burn than aerobics and jogging and biking like I had previously done. So I got a DVD called Yoga by Bodyworks, and I learned the mechanics of the poses and the terms. And I mention this because what I learned was that everything began and ended with a breath. And at first, I was like, well, this is a little boring and it's very deliberate, but I'll go with it. So before going into like a flow or downward dog, then upward dog, yogi push-ups, the instructor told us to, uh, us the audience, because I was at home, of course, to breathe and then move, and more importantly, to breathe intentionally while moving. Right? We always had to focus on our breath, and I thought that was so um, boring and mundane, but I went with it, like I said. And I wrote about this particular lesson in my book, The Chamber Within, on my Stand Store site. But this breathing translated into my workday, believe it or not. It was so funny because I went from being, super critical of the uh, attention to breathing and maintaining the breath and focusing on the breath, that I had become accustomed to taking special care uh, in how I was breathing and being quite aware of breathing through the exercises. So it translated at work because I began to stop whenever I was feeling overwhelmed at work, and I took the time, anywhere from 30 seconds to a full minute, to stop literally in my tracks and to focus on my breathing, right? Like I'm actually doing the thing that I thought was silly as a practice because it helped me in this very small or seemingly, to me, insignificant gesture was like a mental reset for my nervous system. The more it helped me, the more I did it, which was once a shift. At this time, I was waiting tables. It was a very busy restaurant, and I barely had time to use the restroom if needed while on the clock. There's a high demand for attention to detail, and catering to everyone was a nonstop occurrence, right? Very, 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 very busy, very nice restaurant. And I learned that no matter what, where I was, that everything was okay and everything was going to be all right with this breathing practice. When I was able to stop in the middle of all of that chaos, I'm thinking I'm alive, I'm okay, I feel into my well being. And this moment is just that, a moment. It's a moment in time that will be a distant memory if remembered at all. This little reset where I would just stop and think about my breathing helped me anchor in the idea of uh, the joy of living, joie de vivre, right? And this is why I'm here, to live, not to stress. I would be breathing or in the middle of my practice, and I would have someone come up to me like, Dawn, what are you doing? Because they're running up to me and they have to relay some information or tell me something stressful that they're also experiencing, and we also, all of us, bounce back and forth our stressors and our stories. I can't even believe this person did this. Like, just all this dumping of uh, the mental gymnastics that we had to do. Because of my ability to stop in the middle of chaos, which is a lot like the eye of the storm, if you will, during the height of my stressful day, it actually helped me to take ownership of my day. Not control, but ownership of my emotions, my feelings, my body as it affects my nervous system and thus affects others in a way that is fair, right? I'm not lashing out at anyone because I can't handle what's happening to me, right? I'm not punishing anyone for being stressed out. Like, this not only affected me, but it affected everyone around me. And then, I told, when my coworker walked up to me, like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just breathing. I'm just taking a couple seconds to just close my eyes and just stop." Um, because I could feel the stress levels getting out of whack. And I had become so accustomed to noticing my breath and taking the time to be with me, that I could tell when things were going like off the rails. And so they decided to try it too. I even lent out my DVD, like one of my favorite of the trio that I had. Sometimes I would go back to the basic ones to start all over again, and that one I never got back. I'm not, upset about it. I can always get it again. I just never did. But I love the fact that in a place where it's completely normal to break down and cry. I've seen grown men cry in the middle of their shift. Like, it was so stressful. It stopped all of that, this practice. Instead of me adding to the stress by talking about how stressful I am, within this silence, I am now in the middle of witnessing life. This small act felt powerful. I suggest trying it if you can remember to. Um, so this exercise that unexpectedly permeated my life and affects the philosophy of how I cope and see an issue or problem is due to this practice of being conscious of something so mundane as my breath, the breathing pattern that we take for granted. This is the luxury of peace. This cannot be taken from me because it is within me. Again, this is how I do it. If you'd like an example, so um, everyone has a home base, right? And so what I mean by home base is where you are neither upset nor happy, right? You're just neutral. And once you are, one, aware of that, two, when you are becoming unraveled because too many outside influences are starting to affect how you feel on the inside. Maybe the phone won't stop ringing, text won't stop coming through, the baby is crying, someone's yelling in the background. It's just too much going on. Maybe your attention is being split between more than the amount of people anyone can handle, like yourself or myself. I don't want to say two or three because some people can really multitask and juggle, but whatever your home base is, it's good to be familiar with that, and then when to know it, when it's getting off the rails. So this is what I would do when I felt my home base, or I was being moved out of my center, I guess is a better way to say that. I would stand still. I would stop moving wherever I was. I would stop moving somewhere out of the way in the restaurant. I'm talking about literally at work. I would take 5 deep breaths with my eyes closed. And this would recalibrate my thoughts because now my focus is on my center, my breath. That's it. If nothing else, I'm not talking about butterflies and rainbows, or sky and birds, whatever, image you can come up with. I'm talking about just breath. So breathing intentionally in and out. And once you begin to slow it down in the middle of chaos now, I'm not talking about sitting here listening to a podcast because Dawn is talking on the chamber within, and I'm going to start, you know, doing this because she's talking. I'm talking about doing this. I just want to reiterate, I'm talking about learning how to do this in the middle of absolute mayhem, pulling yourself aside, being your own best friend and saying, I just need 1 minute. I don't care who you're talking to. I don't care what you're doing. Telling yourself, we, me, myself, and I, the three of us, whatever, we just need a minute, okay? So let me go back to it. You pull yourself aside and you slow it down. You inhale and you exhale. And you do it again. And you do it again until that is all you are thinking about. I'm telling you, when you do that, and you can just for a moment focus your attention on the fact that you're inhaling and exhaling, and that's important. Your health is your wealth. Where you are is okay. Everything outside, to the left of you, to the right, top, bottom, up, down, doesn't matter, will be there when you get back. Okay? Connecting to the very force that gives me life. The ultimate reset. It's a good practice. Do it whenever you feel like you can remember to do it, just as a practice. You don't have to do the whole yoga poses or anything like that. I'm telling you, focusing on your breath is one of the greatest. I did it the other day. One of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself, because you're returning back to self, right? Back to you. You give all day, probably, right? Most of us do, especially if we're working and we're doing tasks and we're trying to please our boss or what have you. Give this to yourself. You have a lunch break, you probably watch your phone or listen to music or read a book or listen to your coworker complain about something. This is for you and you alone. This is your reset. Just in and out. Here's the benefit of this. Once I am done, then I am able to re-see everything, because now I'm witnessing it, right? I'm no longer attached to it emotionally. And I'm talking about, I have to run and get this Diet Coke, or this person's going to X, Y, and Z. I will get to them once I'm ready. This problem table, I started having thoughts like this. This problem table will also be gone shortly, as they all are after some period of time. The only thing constant is change. And with that, okay, so what? Change happens. Ups, downs, but you watch it instead of being attached to this. Instead of letting your emotions go up and down, your heart rate up and down, your breathing labored because you're running back and forth. No matter the job. Waiting tables was very stressful, but I now do this and I don't wait tables. I supervise a group of people, and I still need this because I'm having to be the go-between between my group and my manager. And there's a bit of a disconnect with how I manage and how he manages. So I have to be a soft place to land between the two groups. So in the middle of this constant change that we have in life, anchoring yourself into peaceful thoughts and the simplicity of breath can work wonders with this practice. With whatever practice. If you're painting, if you're drawing, the purpose of this podcast post, is to kind of reframe what luxury is. Peace is a luxury. It is. I remember watching my mother react to all sorts of stressors in her life. She had five of us. She was a mother of five. My brother had cerebral palsy, so she was constantly, um, with him, changing him, feeding him. He wasn't able to walk or talk. My big brother, who was 9 years older than me, my brother Daryl, was um, a full time job. And I watched her take care of him and the entire household. She was the first to get up and the last to go to sleep. And I also, remember witnessing her in constant survival mode. So um, I wish I had this information to impart on her. I am her youngest, so I didn't discover this till well after she had passed. But if I could help anyone, I would say take the time out, find your center, give to yourself, and then maybe that'll help you, your nerves, change the flow of the day in some way, shape, or form. But I do know peace is a luxury. One of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles is rest comes from those who are awake, not sleeping, right? It's a luxury because it's priceless. So, awake means being aware. It's an awareness of the awakened state, which is not reacting to all of the stimuli, just witnessing it without emotional attachment or becoming undone by it. Not becoming undone by it is key. This is how we get into our power. And this power can have positive effects on our day. It's our day. We affect it. We are no longer allowing it to affect us negatively. How you see now that you have taken the time to slow down changes. It's not an exclusive luxury. Anyone can attain it if they try. But peace is a priceless state of mind. Of course, like I've said before, it's a luxury, but it's one that you can hold on to and keep with you whenever and wherever you may need it to serve you. Now, the price you pay when you cannot find peace is stress, ever constant stress and worry. It's flipped, right? This is a free luxury, but it's a high price if you are unable to find it. Now, we all do, right? I would hope are able to find our moment of peace. We listen to a song we may like. We may call someone who lifts our spirits. But I wanted to add another little tool in the toolbox of finding peace in our day where we are just able to pull it from within. Thank you so much for listening this week. I hope this was helpful. Again, I would love to make this podcast more interactive. So if you have any questions or comments and you want to reach out to me, you can email me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com. And if you'd like for me to address anything anonymously or use your name, you can also put that in the body of the email that you send. You can follow me on Substack at Dawn Ardean, DAWNARDEAN. It's where I have all my podcasts and my essays that I've written and things that I've experienced in my life. And I share books that I've read that have helped me throughout my awakening experience on my TikTok page at the_chamber_within. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.